Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into a world that's pretty uh, secretive.
Oh,
The
yeah.
art market. It's all, hidden prices and these million-dollar deals.
Right.
So today, we're going to figure out what transparency really means in this crazy world
Mm-hmm.
and whether, pulling back the curtain is good or bad.
Interesting.
We've got some fascinating sources, so
Yeah.
get ready for a wild ride.
I think it's really interesting because the art market, it kind of thrives on this mystery.
Right.
It's part of the allure, right? But there's been this growing push for like more openness.
Yeah, and transparency at first seems pretty simple,
Mm-hmm.
but going through all the research, it's like way more layered, especially in the art world.
Right.
Our sources pointed to four main areas.
Yeah.
Pricing, like the actual history of the artwork, provenance, ethical practices,
Yeah.
and whether everyone's treated fairly when buying or selling.
Makes sense.
So let's just start with the pricing.
Yeah, good place to start because it's something pretty much everyone can relate to.
Yeah.
Like, imagine you walk into this gallery, incredible pieces everywhere, but you have no idea what anything costs. No price tags.
Oh, yeah.
Just this feeling of if you have to ask.
You're so right. I've totally felt that awkwardness.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a secret code you gotta know to even get basic info.
Totally. And that's exactly what turns some buyers off, especially if they're new to it all.
Yeah.
The traditional art market, it really relies on this exclusivity, controlling information to, keep that sense of prestige and, to be honest,
Right.
to kind of influence the whole negotiation.
Totally.
But it clashes with how we buy things nowadays.
It really does. Think about, shopping online.
Yeah.
Would you ever buy anything without seeing the price?
Nope.
Never.
Never.
This is where the art world seems so out of touch with what we're all used to.
Totally agree. The digital world's changed how we buy and sell, well, everything.
Yeah.
And that wave is hitting the art market now. But it's not just about listing prices.
Right.
This whole idea of provenance, the artwork's history, is being revolutionized by technology.
So true. One source highlighted the Noodler Gallery scandal.
Oh, wow.
They were selling forgeries,
Yeah.
as masterpieces by Rothko, Pollock, even de Kooning.
Wild.
It's crazy. And it really shows how important provenance is.
Absolutely.
But the fascinating part is, it wasn't just missing paperwork.
Right.
It was the whole system that allowed these fakes to be sold for years, undetected.
Yeah, the Noodler case, it showed how there are weaknesses beyond just tracking who owned what. It revealed this network of people willing to, overlook or ignore red flags.
Yeah.
Because there's so much money to be made.
Right.
The lack of transparency let this deception just flourish.
Makes you think, right?
Yeah.
But then we've got blockchain tech coming in, offering potential solutions.
Right.
Platforms like Artory and Verisart, they use blockchain to create these tamper-proof records. It's like giving each artwork a digital fingerprint that can't be faked.
That's a game changer, especially with forgeries getting more and more sophisticated these days.
Yeah.
But it also brings up questions about, how will this technology actually be used and who's going to have access to it? Could blockchain accidentally create new kinds of exclusivity?
That's a really good question. And it leads perfectly to our next topic, ethical practices and, those conflicts of interest.
Yeah.
This is where it gets kind of shady. One source dug into how auction houses work, pointing out they often act as agents for both the buyer, AD, the seller, in the same deal. Doesn't that seem like a conflict of interest waiting to happen?
It definitely makes you wonder, who's really benefiting from these arrangements?
Yeah.
And then there's things like chandelier bidding, where auction houses actually bid on behalf of, anonymous clients to drive up the prices.
Wow.
It all feeds into this idea that the art market is, opaque and a little shady.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if the rules are even the same for everyone.
Right.
And we can't forget about looted or stolen art.
Oh, of course.
There's this whole movement to deal with that now.
Yeah.
Museums and governments working to return stolen treasures.
Right.
More transparency and provenance could be huge here.
Absolutely. If we can track an artwork's history for sure, we can tell if it was taken illegally or smuggled.
Right.
It's not just about verifying if it's real anymore. It's about ethical ownership, making sure art isn't part of criminal activity.
So transparency becomes this tool for accountability, not just about money, but about cultural heritage and ethics.
Exactly. It's about making the art market line up with broader values, moving away from this anything goes attitude it's kind of had.
This leads us to that last area we talked about.
Yeah.
Fair treatment for both buyers and sellers.
Yeah.
Ideally, everyone would have the same information and opportunities.
Right.
But our research showed a system where preferred collectors often get special treatment. They get first dibs on sought-after pieces or insights that aren't public.
It's like the VIP section of the art world.
It is.
This creates a huge barrier for new collectors or those without the right connections. It just keeps this cycle of exclusivity going, which is really frustrating for anyone trying to break in.
It's like a club where the rules constantly change and you never know if you're really in the loop.
Exactly. And that's a main argument for people who want more transparency. They believe that by making information more available, we can create an art market that's more fair and accessible.
So we've got those 4 areas where transparency is crucial. Pricing, provenance, ethical practices, and fair treatment for everyone buying and selling.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But why is this all so hot right now? What's pushing for more transparency in the art world?
That's where things get really interesting. Our sources point to 3 big things. The whole digital transformation, rising pressure from regulations, and maybe most importantly, what buyers want now, which is totally different.
All right, let's break it down. First, the digital revolution.
Yeah.
How has the internet and, e-commerce changed this traditionally brick-and-mortar art world?
The pandemic really pushed things along. Galleries had to embrace these online viewing rooms and digital platforms just to show their art. Platforms like Artsy, big galleries like David's Werner, they started listing prices up front, which was huge compared to the old way of doing things.
It seems like the art world was thrown into the digital age overnight.
It really was.
Did this sudden change stick around?
Absolutely. The pandemic just sped up something that was already happening.
Right.
Buyers got used to the convenience and transparency of online shopping, and that those expectations carried over to the art market. Even when physical galleries opened back up, the digital landscape was different.
So it wasn't a temporary thing. Buyers actually liked this new way of experiencing art.
Yeah.
With information right there and transactions happening online.
Exactly. And it's not just buyers. Galleries and auction houses saw the potential of reaching a global audience. It opened up new ways to make money and expanded the market way beyond just geography.
That makes sense. So we've got the digital revolution pushing for more transparency.
Yeah.
But what about these regulations?
Right.
How are governments getting involved in the art market?
This is where it gets really interesting. The EU started its 5th anti-money laundering directive. Galleries now have to do KYC, know your customer, checks on buyers for anything over 10,000 euros.
Wow.
It's a big move that's forcing the art world to get more transparent just to follow the rules.
So it's not just about ethics anymore. There are actual legal and financial consequences for not being transparent.
Exactly. This EU directive is like shining a light on how the art market could be used for money laundering and illegal stuff.
Right.
By making galleries verify who their buyers are, it's trying to stop the art market from being used for crime.
Is this just a European thing? Or will these regulations spread to other parts of the world?
It's early, but other countries are watching what the EU does. It's probably going to have a ripple effect. The art market is global now.
True.
If the big players in Europe are doing this, others will probably follow.
It seems like the pressure's coming from all sides now. We've got the digital revolution, stricter regulations, and what you mentioned earlier, changing buyer expectations. Let's talk about that. Who are these new buyers?
Right.
And what do they want from the art market?
They're digital natives. They're comfortable doing things online and expect everything to be transparent. They want easy access to information. They're not intimidated by the whole mysterious vibe of the traditional art world. They want to understand how it works, see the prices, and feel confident about what they're buying.
So it's not just convenience, it's like a total shift in values. These new buyers want a different relationship with the art market.
Definitely.
They want to be empowered, not excluded.
Exactly. And they'll walk away if they feel like information's being kept from them.
The art world's at a crossroads then, caught between tradition and this wave of change.
It is.
So how are galleries and auction houses reacting to this pressure for more transparency? Are they adapting?
That's what we'll dive into next. We'll explore how galleries, art fairs, and online platforms are navigating this whole new scene.
Sounds good.
It's pretty amazing to see how different parts of the art market are reacting to this whole transparency thing.
Oh, yeah.
Some are all in, others are like testing the waters.
It's like they're trying to learn a new dance, but in slow motion.
Right.
Let's start with galleries. Our sources mentioned that big names like David Zwirner are really into online viewing rooms with the prices right there. Is that the new normal now?
It's definitely becoming more common, yeah, especially for those established galleries. They've figured out that listing prices online isn't this, like, scary thing.
Right.
It doesn't crash the market or anything.
Right.
It actually makes things easier. More people reach out because they're not intimidated, and sales can happen faster.
So it's less about that exclusive vibe and more about meeting buyers where they are, online.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that help smaller galleries too? Or is it just the big guys who can make it work?
That's the interesting part. Smaller galleries are finding success with online transparency, too.
Oh, really?
They're realizing that being upfront about prices actually levels the playing field a bit.
How so?
It lets them compete with the bigger galleries because they can reach a wider audience online.
That's a great point. It's not just about keeping up with the times. It's about using transparency to find new buyers.
Exactly.
Okay, so galleries are adapting. But what about art fairs? Those huge events where collectors go. Are they changing too?
Some are trying different things. Some are using QR codes next to the artworks.
Oh, yeah.
So you can scan them with your phone and see the price digitally.
Yeah.
It's a subtle way to give information without completely ditching the whole no price tags thing.
It's a compromise then.
Yeah, kinda. A little nod to transparency, but keeping some of that mystery.
Are any fairs totally going for full price transparency though?
Oh, absolutely. Our sources talked about the affordable art fair.
Mm-hmm.
They require all the artwork to have prices listed.
Wow.
It's bold, and it tackles the price transparency issue head on.
Yeah.
It fits with their goal of making art collecting more inclusive, too.
I love that. It makes the whole experience less intimidating for new collectors.
For sure.
But let's be real. The affordable art fair is for a specific kind of buyer.
Right.
What about those high-end fairs? The ones with the, multi-million-dollar pieces?
Yeah.
Are they going to change too?
That's the million-dollar question, right? Those high-end fairs are under pressure to adapt, but their clients value discretion and exclusivity. It's a tough balance. They need to figure out how to incorporate transparency without alienating their core audience.
Sounds tricky. Okay, we've talked about galleries and art fairs,
Yeah.
but there's another big player. Online platforms. Platforms like Artsy have been leading the way with transparency, showing prices up front and offering tons of art.
Right.
Have they been a big part of this change?
Definitely. Artsy's commitment to transparency has been huge.
Yeah.
They've made the art market accessible to people all over the world, giving buyers the information and tools they need to navigate the art world with confidence.
One of our sources mentioned something that really stuck with me.
Oh, yeah.
Listings with visible prices on Artsy get 5 times more inquiries than those without.
Wow.
That says a lot about how much buyers appreciate clear, upfront info.
It really does. People don't want to play guessing games.
No.
They want to know what they're getting into before they even ask about a piece.
It seems like transparency is good for both buyers and sellers on those platforms.
Yeah, it is.
But let's look at the other side for a sec. Not everyone's happy about this.
Oh, of course not.
There's some real concerns about what could go wrong with more transparency in the art world.
That's true. We've talked about the good stuff, but it's important to see the other side of the coin. A big worry is privacy, especially for those high net worth collectors who like to keep things quiet.
Yeah, I get that. They probably don't want their purchases announced to the world.
Right. Like imagine your shopping list suddenly became public.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some people worry that too much transparency will turn art into just another product. Like if everything has a price tag, does it lose that special feeling?
Yeah, that's the argument. If everything's out in the open, does it take away the mystique and exclusivity that makes art so special?
It's like the difference between buying a fancy handbag and buying a unique work of art.
Right.
Does transparency risk turning art into just another thing to buy?
It's a real concern, and it gets to the heart of what makes the art market unique.
Right.
It's not just about supply and demand. It's about emotions, aesthetics, cultural value.
And let's not forget the practical stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Setting up new systems like blockchain and KYC checks
Mm-hmm.
can be expensive,
Mm-hmm.
especially for smaller galleries.
For sure.
Does transparency accidentally make things harder for those who can't afford the newest tech?
It's a legitimate worry. We got to make sure that this push for transparency doesn't make the existing inequalities in the art market worse.
Yeah.
It shouldn't become another thing that only benefits the wealthy.
That's so important.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've looked at the potential problems, the fears,
Yeah.
and the challenges, but let's shift gears and focus on the good stuff.
Yeah, okay.
What are some of the opportunities that you see coming from more transparency?
Well, for one, transparency builds trust.
Mm-hmm.
When buyers can see clear pricing and provenance info, it makes things fairer.
Right.
It builds confidence in the market and encourages more people to get involved.
It's like taking out the guessing game. You know what you're buying,
Right.
you know what it's worth, and you know the seller's being straight with you.
Exactly.
Just makes the whole experience feel more secure.
Yeah. And transparency can open up the art market to way more people, which is good for everyone. Online platforms have already shown how they can connect buyers and sellers from everywhere.
It's like breaking down those geographic barriers and making art accessible to more people.
Exactly.
It's not just about buying and selling more easily.
Right.
It's about creating a more inclusive and diverse art world.
Exactly. And that leads to another big point: attracting new buyers.
Yeah.
When the process is less intimidating and more transparent, it encourages people who might have felt excluded to give it a try.
It's like saying, hey, the art world isn't this closed-off club anymore.
Right.
It's welcoming new members, new ideas, and new energy.
That's what makes this whole conversation so exciting. We're seeing a change that could totally reshape the art market.
So it seems like transparency is a bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It has challenges and opportunities.
Uh-huh.
And the art world's still figuring out how to find that sweet spot.
Right.
But the big question remains, does the art market need transparency to survive in the 21st century?
Good question.
It's the question everyone's asking, right? Do we need this transparency thing? Or are we messing with something that was, fine the way it was?
It's tough. It's really complicated. No easy answer here. It's not just like yes or no. There are good points on both sides.
So how do we even start figuring this out? If we think about the concerns about privacy
Yeah.
and the worry that art becomes just another, product with a price tag, are we saying transparency is bad?
Not exactly. I think it's more about finding the right balance. We can deal with those concerns and still benefit from a more open system. It's like any market that's changing, it's got to adapt to the new reality,
Right.
but without losing what makes it special.
Our sources seem to be saying that transparency isn't about taking away the magic of the art world.
Yeah.
It's about making it, more sustainable, more ethical, and open to more people.
That's a really important point. It's not about erasing what makes art appealing or turning it into just another item you buy in a store. It's about creating a system that's fair, transparent, and where people are held accountable.
It's like we're building a stronger base for the art world,
Yeah.
one that's built on trust and open communication. And it seems like this change is already happening. We see it with these online platforms, blockchain tech, and how buyers' expectations are evolving.
It's a pretty exciting time to be part of this whole conversation. The old ways are being challenged and new possibilities are coming up.
And that brings us back to you, our listener. You've heard the arguments, you've seen the trends. Now it's time to ask yourself, what kind of art world do you want? Do you like the exclusivity and mystique of the traditional way?
Yeah.
Or do you believe in a system that's more open, accessible, and fair? There's no right or wrong answer. This deep dive has given you the info to form your own opinion. As the art market keeps changing, your voice matters. Stay curious, stay informed, and keep exploring this awesome world of art. It's always changing. And that wraps up this deep dive. We hope you enjoyed exploring this complex and fascinating topic with us. Until next time, happy collecting.